Hello ma'am and the other friends. In this video I will tell about intercultural communications. Intercultural communications, according to Davis and Ray 1996, denoted that intercultural refers to inter and culture. Inter means interaction, exchange, and open, while culture signifies lifestyle and the representative symbol used by people either individually or through communities in building a relationship with others in their effort to understand the world. And then we can say intercultural refers to the exchange that occur between different cultures. And here are some definitions by some experts. According to Goodikons 2003, intercultural communication pertains to communications among people from different nationalities. And then in line with Chen and Starosta 1998, intercultural communication refers to communications between people from two different cultures. So, in general, intercultural communication is the sending and receiving of messages across languages and cultures, and then it is also a negotiated understanding of meaning in human experiences across social systems and societies. And yeah, in intercultural communication, we not only learn about that their languages, but in intercultural communications, we also focuses on the social attributes, and then their mindset and the cultures of course of different groups of people, because it also involves understanding the different cultures, languages, and customs of people from other countries. And yeah, this is the question: why do we need to learn intercultural communications? First, to increase self awareness, because when we increase our awareness of our own cultural identity and our cultural background, it can help us to avoid misunderstanding or avoid ethnocentrism. Ethnocentrism is a tendency to think that our own culture, our cultural background is superior than other cultures. And then the second is to help instill values such as empathy, open-mindedness, and respect. And then the third is to improve intergroup relations, because when we learned intercultural communication, like I said before, we not only learn about their language but also their habit, their cultures, and then that's all to improve our relations to other country or other regions. And then the fourth is why do we need to learn intercultural communication? Communication is for workplace and economic globalizations, because to compete effectively in global market, we must understand how business and the culture practice conducted in other countries. That's why we really need to learn intercultural communications. And then here are the barriers to intercultural communication. The first is attitude. In intercultural communications, or we can say intercultural attitude, we can say defines as our willingness, our openness and our readiness to discover other culture, to learn and to experience other cultures. And then perceptions. We must know there are factors that influence perceptions, like our values, our social roles, and our environment. And then the way we perceive something, the way we perceive is culturally determined, and a lack of awareness of this another barrier to intercultural communications. And then we have stereotypes in barrier to intercultural communication. And yeah, we have discussed about stereotype, but briefly, stereotypes is like our assumptions or our assessments that we met to another behavior, or based on the perceptions of the group, which that person can be categorized, so that the emergence of stereotype, we can say the emergence of stereotypes cannot be separated from social processes and social interactions in our life, because in many groups, in many places, certainly have their stereotypes in their environment. And then we have interpretations. Interpretations is like the process of translating spoken language from the source language to the target language. We can say that we interpret something to other people, and then perhaps they receive different perception, different what can I say, different perceptions when receive our communications. And yeah, that's why this is one of the barriers to intercultural communication. And then we have two culture shocks. Culture shocks is a term used to describe our feeling of surprise, and then anxiety, confusion, which is that is felt when a person comes into different place, or different place which is have different culture or different habit. Like when we go to a foreign country, and then we found some new culture or new habit, maybe we can experience culture shock. Like for example, when we go in Japan have the habit in when they eat something, they use chopstick, and then tends to making a sound when they eat noodles on or their food. And then when we don't have our what can I say, our knowledge about their cultures, we can experience culture shock, and then we feel like, why this Japanese, when there is something like their behavior weird, yeah, that's why we have to we have to understand about, and then we have to know about their culture. So we can what can I say, we can reduce when we feel a cultural shock. And then intercultural, when culture shocks appears, perhaps because we can't accept something different from our culture to other culture. Other example that I can say is when we from Indonesia, and then we go to, or we travel to around the world, some countries maybe, then we meet different cultures, like in the United States, and see that that cultures, we see that sex marriage is allowed in United States. Then even though we are from different culture, we have to respect that. We have to respect even though we have different culture. Even though in Indonesia sex marriage is not allowed, but we don't have to judge their culture and then their rules or their habits, because habit like culture like that occur in United States. And then the result, if we cannot accept the differences about that situations, it can jump to or create some conflict between Indonesian people and then with United States. That's why we must know and tolerate differences if there is an intercultural conflict. We can manage it with various strategies. And then the last barrier is non-verbal behavior. Non-verbal behavior is like a communication method of with other people without using words, but with our actions. For example, using our hands gestures to point on, ask for something, and then make eye contact when we meet people and touch them, and then our body language, because in non-verbal behavior, it is only shared thoughts and feelings of bodily behavior, time and space. And then these are examples of intercultural communications. There's communication between Japanese and Batak people, and then communication between adherents of Muslim and adherents of Christianity, and then communication between Japanese and American, and then communication between teachers and police, ATC and pilot or photographers with their model. And then we have also communication between women and men. Here are some characteristics of competent intercultural communicators. The first is flexibility and ability to tolerate high levels of uncertainty. For example, like I said before, the Japanese way of eating, when they're eating something, and then they uses chopsticks, and usually it's by making a sound. And then when we meet the situation uncertainty. If we don't know the Japanese eating culture, we will be shocked and think it's weird, and maybe we certainly think that is weird behavior, because we don't know if the Japanese, when they're eating something, is by making a sound, and vice versa of Indonesia. When Indonesia eats something, the culture, when eating culture in Indonesia, it's called rude. When we making a sound, when we eat, it's not polite behavior in Indonesia, in our country. That is why it's really essential for us that we should really improve our flexibility in dealing unexpected or uncertainty situations when we are in different country, which is have different cultures, because at least when we have flexibility and ability to tolerate that, at least we avoid any conflict in misunderstanding with other people. And then the second characteristic of competent intercultural communication is break the assumptions. We know I also often makes assumptions about other people with other people. Assumptions like we can say assumptions are beliefs rather than objective truths, and are usually influenced by a number of subjective factors. But for intercultural communication, people need to assess their assumptions and ask ourselves why we hold that idea or belief. We have to reflect whether our assumptions are correct or not, whether our behavior is correct or not when we are in different cultural place. In this way, the initial barriers to intercultural communications can be overcome. So when we come to different cultural backgrounds, we have to be reflective of our actions and breaks our assumptions to avoid the conflict of misunderstanding again. Why are assumptions about cultural backgrounds is dangerous? Because assumptions, like I said before, is only based on number of only subjective factor, based on a set of common values and shared belief system. However, if you don't have that commonality, they can lead to misunderstanding and disagreements, and even like dangerousity with conflict with other people when we keep our assumptions. And that's why we have to break the assumptions when we need to competent in intercultural communication. Okay, the third characteristic is empathize. With When we have empathy, we can show deep respect with other people to appreciate and understand understand people from different cultures. Because by putting ourselves in someone else's situation or someone else's shoes, we will see or we will appreciate their point of view and their culture. Yeah, the point is we must not proceed the conversation and do not judge them. Yeah, we know empathy is important skills because people often think and feel differently than you do about the same situations, and people who don't have empathy tend to assume that everyone thinks that feels the same way they like them, and they risk creating problems when that assumption isn't accurate, isn't valid. Okay, the fourth is avoid insensitive behavior, because in intercultural communication we have to have cultural sensitivity, because it will help us to develop the ability to develop emotions towards understanding and appreciations of cultural differences that encourage appropriate and effective behavior in intercultural communication. Because we know every culture has value and attitudes that are communicated. For example, the way Japanese people bow to each other when welcoming guests, welcoming people that they meet. And yeah, it's different from the style of our style of welcoming in other nations. Perhaps when we go to Japan and then we give our hands like this, and then we they will bow their body as a sign of politeness, and then as a sign when they're welcoming people. That's why we must avoid insensitive behavior. Vice versa, we have to have cultural sensitivity in characteristic of component intercultural communication. And yeah, the last characteristic is adaptability. Yeah, adaptability refers to our ability to change our manner of communications across countries and across cultures. When we have to blend into the situations that we are in and learn to adapt to other culture. Yeah, because it's really necessary if we are planning to work abroad in the future, and we don't know our future, right? Then perhaps we in the future we can go abroad, and then we can continue our educations in in other country, and that's why we have to be competent in intercultural communication. We have to adapt. We have adaptability when we in other country, and certainly we face the different cultures of that country. Next, okay. I think that's all. A little bit informations, a little bit discussions about intercultural communication. Thank you.